What's up, guys? I'm the MMA Casual. For those of you who've never been on my channel, I talk MMA and UFC, mostly UFC. I talk bets, predictions, updates, news. I just yap. I yap a lot, but I enjoy it. And some of you enjoy watching me yap, so I'm going to continue to do so. And I have this new thing I want to do where I want to come up with a video once a week just to keep the engagement, just when there's not really big fights. And I want to talk about UFC updates, things that have happened in the week, things that are relevant. And this week I have just a couple of things I want to talk about, and I'm going to go into a bit of my opinion, etc. But if you're new here, be sure to subscribe if you like the content. Be sure to comment, like. I appreciate all the support. We're killing it. Instagram, like I always say, if you want my exclusive bets, it's $5 a month, guys. And we're climbing up the ladder in that community. So please do so. I always appreciate it. And if you're looking at your screen right now, you see Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson, and something huge happened this week to this potential UFC Hall of Famer, someone who the world was on, 10 years ago, right? The 12 fight win streak in the lightweight division. He almost had an opportunity to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov. Everyone thought Tony Ferguson had the opportunity to become the champion, and everyone was really high on this guy for so long. With that being said, with all that attention, Tony Ferguson, his career took a turn for the worse. Some would say a lot of mental struggles for him. A lot of people think he's not well. Um, and he went through the biggest decline in UFC history, if you ask me, because when you're on that mountaintop where everybody loves you, you're a fan favorite, you had a 12 fight win streak, and all of a sudden you're looking at 7, 8 losses in a row, and the president of the company's asking for you to retire. It's not a good look, and we see guys decline all the time just because they do not know when to walk away from the sport. But Tony Ferguson has shown no interest in retirement, continuously states that he's going to keep going till the wheels fall off, and I don't know what that means. I don't know how many wheels he has. I don't know how many. He's driving an 18 wheeler and he's lost 15 wheels. I don't know what is left in this guy's tank, but this week, we have official confirmation that he has parted ways with the UFC. And while some of us fans who care for this man's health say, yay, this is great, we move on to a different topic because he left the UFC to sign with the GFL. And this is commonly known as the Geriatric Fight League. It's not, it's called the Global Fight League. And it got a lot of hoopla a couple months ago because it kind of came out of nowhere. And this promotion is being spoken about like it's the next big thing. Of course, that's a very casual opinion. I am so uncertain of what gimmick or what the hell this is. And I hope I'm wrong because they stand for all the right things. The whole thing about the GFL is that they are going to treat these fighters how they should be treated. And what we mean by that is a percentage of their purse goes into a retirement fund. So later on, these fighters have funds when they retire. A percentage, not a percentage of their, I don't believe it's, sorry, a percentage of their payout goes towards insurance, which I guess the UFC and other promotions don't necessarily provide insurance, which is kind of crazy because half of these guys end up in the hospital when they're done with their fights. Could be a small fracture, could be just for stitching, but a lot of these guys end up needing medical attention. So insurance would make so much sense for these guys. It's a huge benefit, right? And I think it's the correct thing. And not only that, but 50% of the revenue made for each event will be paid out to the fighters. Now, how that's split up, that's a different thing. But it has said that 50% of their revenue goes to them. When you look at all these things as a fighter, you're like, damn, why are we going there? Well, and they just had their draft and this, that, the other. I'm just going to give a brief opinion on this so we can move forward. I have no idea where the UFC would be today if 50% of their revenue, especially when they were starting, was going towards fighters. The UFC was almost bankrupt. The UFC, to be successful, shot out the Ultimate Fighter on Spike TV as like a last Hail Mary move. But prior to that, there was talks of them being $30 million in debt. And they were about to call it quits. But Dana White and the Fertitta brothers said, no, 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 no. Let's hold off on this. But they almost called it quits. There's an alternate dimension where we don't have the UFC. And that alternate dimension would definitely be our reality if they were paying 50% of their event revenue towards the fighters, like it or not. We don't know the ins and outs of the UFC. There's been a lot of talks about how they pay their fighters, how they treat their fighters, and we are outsiders looking in. And some fighters come out and talk all this, and and bash the UFC, but a lot of guys don't. And you have to think why. Because there are benefits to being in the UFC, especially nowadays. The popularity you gain, the ad revenue, and of course they took away sponsorships, which like was a huge blow to the fighters earlier. So I'm not praising the UFC for that how they have treated their fighters in the past. But what I am saying is their business model has been successful because they're business focused. And at the end of the day, they do need to bring in the revenue, drive profit, and they need to continue to pocket that to grow. And look at the success the UFC has had. And now we have this league who's going to come in and basically out of nowhere. I don't know what their investors look like. I don't know the behind the scene. Maybe it's some rich dude who wants to throw away money and gain popularity. But that model already looks a little iffy. Moving forward, to top that off, you're going to go out and instead of bringing in guys who are up and coming, maybe you steal some from Bellator, which is freaking has disintegrated, right, and has joined with the PFL. Maybe instead of scooping up some up and comers, maybe getting some guys who want to sign with the UFC, you pay them a little more and maybe they're willing to come, and you start driving this excitement. You take a different route. You take a page out of boxing's book, the celebrity boxing type of book, and you're just going to grab names. The problem here is you have such a small lifespan as an athlete in mixed martial arts, right? Because right now, if we say the name Anthony Pettis, it's not that it doesn't mean anything. It's not that it doesn't hold value, but what do we have to see from Anthony Pettis inside an octagon now? What do we have to see from Tony Ferguson right now? Paige Van Zandt, Junior Dos Santos, Rashad Evans, Uriah Faber, Chris Weidman. I mean, half, if not more than half of these people were basically forced to retire because they could not perform anymore. They went on losing streaks. They had no chance against the real contenders in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. And you're going to sign these people? And I understand their name has value, but how far, right? McGregor's a huge name, but when McGregor's 55, I don't want to watch him in the octagon. And yeah, that'll drive money, but he's also a different name. But all these guys and women, I mentioned Paige Van Zandt. What are we looking at? I think the GFL is going to get some attention in their first card. I think everyone's going to be like, what is this mess? We got to at least see what it is. They've driven that potential in our mind. They have driven some sort of curiosity. They've sparked it in us. But do you think these people are putting on banger fights? Are we seriously going to consider this promotion a serious one if all of a sudden Chris Weidman is the champion of a division? If he's moving through, like, I don't get it. And it's like this team layout. They're doing drafts. They just finished their draft. But I think these people are a one and done. Because number one, you can't afford what you're promising. There's no freaking way. And if it is, it's the pennies on the dollar. But you're not giving all these people retirement. If you're giving them 50% of the revenue made wherever the hell you're going to host this, you're not making shit. You're losing more money. So I think this is like a quick gimmick, get some attention, and it just dies out. And yet we have no idea when this is going to start. So you have it here. My opinion on the GFL is just this one-time gimmick thing. It's going to be a huge bust. It's not going to drive revenue. Once we see these retired fighters who are way past their prime step into the octagon, we're going to be like, sorry. Like it just doesn't make any sense, guys. And there's going to be people for nostalgia and just support. They've been fans of these people for years. They'll go watch it. But it has no credibility in the mixed martial arts world. That's my opinion. And I'm so curious to see what you have to say about it, because I know I just went like 9 minutes on the GFL talking just bad about it. But it's a serious opinion I have, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. And with that being said, that's the 10 minutes of attention they're going to get from me at this moment. Next up, Clay Guida, a real UFC legend. Some of the best fights you'll ever see. This guy has his name on them. Go watch Clay Guida fights. Go watch. If you look at 15 years ago, a 15-year-ago Clay Guida fight, you're going to have a blast. Put that shit on. Hopefully you get it in high definition. Enjoy it on your couch. It's a banger. He's a brawler. He's doing fucking crazy shit. He's an Energizer Bunny. I've said that every time I break down his fights. He's always going to apply pressure. He has the heart of a lion. I mean, Clay Guida deserves all the respect he gets, all the recognition he gets. Yes, he wasn't like this serious contender. No, he wasn't a champion. Should he be in the Hall of Fame? I don't know, man. What do you give a guy who gave almost 2 decades to your company, and whenever you called him, he was down and he performed and he drove a lot of eyes towards your organization? I don't know. If you ask me, this guy is a UFC legend, maybe a Hall of Famer. A lot of respect to him. Let me know what you think below as well. And the big kahuna here. And sorry, look at this poor editing. What did I do there? What is that? Long story short, Bo Nickel, D1 wrestler, a champion, a great mixed martial artist, coming up in the ranks, a lot of potential star. We know all these things, but what we also know is that he has a big ass mouth. And if there's one thing you shouldn't have in the UFC, is a big ass mouth about events that are up and coming, because you are going to be on Dana White's hit list. You are not going to be a freaking fan favorite of Dana White. He just confirmed on his podcast that he knows for sure that Ilya Topuria and Alexander Volkanovski will be fighting in their rematch at UFC 314 in Miami, which I love. That means I'm going to be there. I live in Miami, for those of you who don't know. But that's a bad idea. And there was rumors, there was this, that, the other. But when you have a fighter confirming, you could almost just check mark it. Why? Obviously, both of these guys are in camp. People talk, fighters know, coaches know. And then, you're supposed to keep it down low, right? There should be some excitement when that's officially announced by the president of the company, Dana White. And time has proven that Dana White does not like when this shit leaks. Just look at Ariel Helwani. Quite the yapper himself. Quite the career on MMA journalism. Can't hate on the guy. But he's literally exiled from the UFC because he had a big fucking mouth and he was leaking shit before Dana White was able to get to the mic. And now you have a fighter, Bo Nickel, who's moving up in the ranks and he's going to be a superstar, and debatably is a superstar, and he's leaking information. And I believe it. This guy really did confirm for us that Alexander Volkanovski and Ilya Topuria will be fighting in Miami in UFC 314. But I'm telling you something, Dana White doesn't like that shit. He's not a fan. He's pissed. And Bo Nickel, buddy, I don't know, do something crazy in your next fight, but you're going to get cut soon or something. Anyway, in all honesty, we got that confirmation. Obviously, Dana White could only come after Bo Nickel so much, but it is what it is. Guys, I'm going to start doing this weekly, just small UFC updates. Just go yapping about shit. Let me know what you think. Be sure to comment. Be sure to like. Go follow my Instagram account. And if you like betting, you like predictions, you like bets, go subscribe. $4.99 a month. See you on the other side.